right, so officially this time, hello and welcome guys, and thank you for going and joining us on day 2 of this exciting 10 days of iVend. We used to have 12 days of Christmas, now we've got 10 days of iVend before Christmas. So, all right, yesterday we managed to go and cover part of what we needed to look at, which was basically iVend installation. And yes, in case you were wondering about yesterday's, about some of the issues that I had yesterday, I was able to go figure those out. It really does help that you go and you don't connect to the incorrect database when you're going and installing things. Fortunately, that should not be a problem for you guys because you'll be installing fresh databases. And as you probably guessed at the bottom of my screen, I now have iVend up and running on this side. So we will go and have a look through there a bit later. Anyway, in the meantime, I hope that you have all gone and joined in and gone and looked at the CKP and gone and signed up and are ready and eager and waiting for all the rest of it. Just one or two final little things before we go and we get started. First off is please remember that there will be a test at the end of this. Yes, it's coming. And please remember, this is an awesome time to go write it because I will be there. I will be able to go answer questions. I'll be able to go and share marks immediately. If you've written the test before, you know we don't actually share your mark. We just go and we say whether you passed or failed. We don't say how good or bad you passed by. We just say, yeah, you passed or yes, you failed. So that's pretty much where we're going, where we set it at. This particular time, I will now be able to go and sit there and go say, all right, Alex or Simran, right, this is where you failed, or this is where you passed. You got this many points. And more importantly, you will actually be able to go debate me on the reasoning behind your questions. So, for instance, if you answered a specific question that you got wrong a specific way, and you can go and tell me, hey Keith, you said this in the training, and yeah, I do hope we'll have the recordings up then. So you'll even be able to go play back my own voice going and telling me where I got it wrong and why I got the question wrong and why you should get the points. So, on that note, please remember. Yes, test coming, and I expect everyone to pass right there. And not just because I'll help you, but because you actually know the work. So, all right, on that note, let us now go and continue. So, yesterday we did the iVend installation. Now, if you remember, I did have that issue where it complained about the database because I was trying to connect to a present database there. Fortunately, I have resolved that, like I said. So basically the only next step from that particular screen is clicking next and finish. So that's it. Once you've done that, you will actually go and see it. The next thing that you will need to load up is the iVend management console. Once again, I recommend you go and you run this as administrator. And you will then be able to go and connect through and go and run the actual system. There is actually an associated one that there is actually an associated one where we can go and there's actually an associated step that we can go run through there, and that is to go and run. And this is quite important now for you guys. Is you will need to go run the. It is hiding over here. I do know it is. There it is. The CXS license administration tool. This is something that is not really covered very much in a lot of the material out there. Very important to run. You guys may not be seeing this. It's asking me for user account control. I click yes. And this will now go and open up the CXS license administration tool. So what will happen when you go and you download iVend from us over here in from the CKP in the download section, right, you won't immediately get a license. If you download the demo stack, we will actually email you a demo stack license. So you'll be able to download it and we'll send you a license. And when the license arrives, you'll see that it gives you two things. It gives you an ID and it gives you a customer ID. Now, the ID needs to be activated by, you come over here to City Access Licensing Wizard, you go say, I wish to activate a license, you go next. You can then go say by internet or email. By the way, I will come back to return a license and configure license service, but activate a license, very important. Next up is activate using the internet is generally the recommended one. Guys, I do know that out there, as they say, this is Africa. We are special and unique, precious snowflake in the world. So we do have these weird and wonderful problems. So you may need to go activate via email. Email is a longer thing. You have to go and email licenses@cityaccess.com, and then it will go and then it will activate. All right. Once it's done that, you can then go and they will then be able to go guide you through the actual steps to go activate the email. I'm just going to do internet because it's easier. You go next. You go and you say internet proxy settings. All right. Please tell us if you do have a proxy. I know a lot of guys these days don't really use proxies anymore, but some of us still do, so we do support that. Next, once you've done that, you enter in your email address and you enter in your activation ID. Now, I'm not going to do that over here because then the next step would be activation and that's it. But those are the two steps that you would go through. And it's either going to go and return a error code going and saying you cannot activate it, or much more likely is it's actually going to go say, hey, congratulations, it's active. Yeah, go on. Then after that, you can then go and open up your management console and load up the customer ID. Once you've loaded up the customer ID, you will then access the management console and you'll be done and ready. So, but just to go back to the other options that we got over here, first one, the other one is to return a license. Now, I might sometimes ask you guys to go and do this purely to go check whether the licenses are expiring or not. When you go return a license, you then go next. You can say, I wish to return a license using internet or email. Once again, internet's recommended. Email is last resort. Short code we do not use. Next, proxy settings. Next, or the reason why you want to go and return it. Normally most people just select none. And it might just be you want to rehost it, you want to change it, you want to go and it might be a case of your license, if it's a demo stack, your license is expired, you then need to go do something else with it. But that you can continue there. Next, and then it will ask you for which license you want to return. Normally there's there could be multiple licenses there, depending on what you've got and depending on when you bought them. But they'll all be connected through. You'll see it will go give you fully trusted, published, fulfillment ID, expiration dates, all the rest of it. Unfortunately, the expiration date should not be reliant on your system date. That's something else that you can just be aware of, is your system date should be your system date. That's not going to be an issue. So it's not going to be a case where like, oh no, check your regional settings, or it shouldn't be. Having said that, we also get the special snowflakes out there where you do need to go check the regional settings. And it will go and have the list of gibberish associated with it to go say whether it's active or not, or whether the license has been messed with. But anyway, so that has everything over here that you need to go do that. Then afterwards you click next. I'm not going to do that because otherwise I will then be in trouble for the rest of the demo today. Finally, if I go all the way back to the beginning, we can go configure license service. We go next. You can restart or stop the license service. Yeah, because that's what it does. So after that, you can then go next, and it will then restart the license service. And yeah, yay! Congratulations, you've finished configuring the service. Now, the important thing about the license service is that it's only configured at the head office. Once you've got it configured at the head office, you do not need to go and configure it at the stores because it will pull it down. It just checks it up here, and then it goes and it tells the stores whether they're licensed or not, or what the licenses are that are assigned to them. That the licensing all happens at head office. That's it. You don't need to worry about it. Associated with the licensing. Now, this is quite important for you to know. MS Nav, as well as MS Nav, as well as the SAP licenses, you will get from us. The Sage licenses you will get through Sage or the Sage partner who's doing the integration. They will go set that, they will send that through to you. You do need to know things like the customer ID in order to do it, because that's part of what the integration is. So that's something else that's very important there. All right, so now moving swiftly forward, welcome to the iVend Management Console. this is the point where you will go and do all your setups. And please, guys, this is the first thing you run after you've done your installation. Do not run the POS. If you run the POS, you will get an error going and saying that you cannot go and it will go say invalid license because it hasn't been assigned to the database yet. It will freak out. You will freak out. Call me. I will then tell you to go and run the management console, and then everything will be okay. But normally that's like a good half an hour to an hour gone, and really in this business, time is money, literally. So let's rather just avoid it and go and select this first. And the first thing it's going to show you when you log in is the license information screen. Now, the license information screen is something that we've upgraded over here a bit. To go and actually show things like which your edition, how many stores you've got, which stores that have been assigned, as well as things like your management console licenses, as well as your POS licenses that have been assigned. Now, these are quite important. These actually break down to who's assigned what. And you can export it to Excel for people who want to go and just check what licenses they got. You can also go and expand these in certain ways to go and make sure that you haven't double assigned licenses, because this can happen, particularly with Management Console, where you assign two licenses to, where you assign a license to a user and to a machine. There's nothing in iVend that's going to stop you doing that. But why? Well, because really, you could have a user going and using a non-licensed machine and a licensed machine. So with us, it's going to be a case of you need to just keep an eye on that. But over here, it will actually explain that you're doing that. It'll go say, hey, this user and this machine has a license. It's not like it's going to go ask you, are you sure you want to do that? Do you want to know more? No, it's up to you. We will give you the tools, and I'm sure you guys are intelligent and handsome enough to go and carry on without me going and pointing out any more. So next up, first screen from here, we go to Enterprise. Now the Enterprise itself, the Enterprise settings will be the next screen you load into, and this is where we get all of the wonderful, big, heavy, chunky settings that we need to go set up that will affect the entire database that you need to be careful of. So pay attention, everyone. Okay, and in doing so, in going and showing you a few things on here, one of the first things I want to show you is actually not on the screen at all, and it is actually, if it's the one thing that you take away from this entire session, is how you access the help for iVend. Now, normally with most machines, you just press F1 and it accesses the help. Not so with iVend, because we are a unique and special snowflake in the world. Instead, over here, you go and you press Control F1, and it will then bring up the iVend Management Console help. It is genuinely helpful, guys. It does actually have some quite interesting things to say. For instance, it does tell you things like what your different fields are, but also it gives you things like your pricing resolution order. Particularly, this is very handy for when you get to the stage of, hey, why does this not work like that? And you can go show it also things like your tax resolution order or your barcode resolution order. All of these things are there. They are set up. And it's, instead of you going and hunting me down and calling me at odd hours of the morning, you can just have a look at this and get your answers. Or otherwise, obviously, hunt on the CKP for this. So remember, Control plus F1. Hit them together, you get the help. And guys, one other thing I'm going to encourage you to do is that while I'm going through this, I would also encourage you to please install a copy of DemoStack or a copy of the latest iVend onto your machines, because it will help. And it is actually generally helpful. You will actually be able to go through these individual screens with me, instead of going and staring at other things. I know you can't actually see this, but I do actually have a little attendees view over here, and it does actually go tell me who's got other screens open or who's not actually going and looking directly at the screen. So for instance, right, Eric, I can see over there that you're not immediately looking at something. So right, hi, as well as some of the others, guys. So that is something to be very careful of. Right. I know I'm going to record this anyway, but please remember, I can actually see who's not watching. Okay, so back to over here to the enterprise settings, now that I've put you all on the spot. over here, first thing, company name. Yeah, it's a free text field. You can type whatever you want over there. Really, we're not going to stop you. Email, yes, that's also up to you. Address, yeah, that's yes, it's an address. There's not really that much more to say about it. It does have a couple of interesting things in it, like your GPS. If you do want to go for your GPS coordinates, you can slot that in. And we do have a lot of lines over here, address lines and all the rest of it. But as you can see, it's not actually really a mandatory field as far as we're concerned. It's a nice to have, not a need to have. No, obviously, if you do, the idea is you will fill it out so it does appear on your different printouts. The next two fields are mandatory and they are incredibly, incredibly important. Okay, and this is where you actually go set things. For instance, like how you are going to set up the system, how you're going to integrate the system. Now, unfortunately, I do not have the drop-down active over here, right? And that is very important for you to note, is that this drop-down is set once. The first time that you fire up the system. That's it. You don't get a second shot. Once you go on and you've set up everything else and you click OK, then that's it. If you got it wrong, you got it wrong. Sorry guys, right there. Do not pass to go. Do not collect 200. That's a restart again. So probably a very good idea is to go and back up the database before you initially fire it up. So, but over here on the ERP system type, there is a drop down over here. There are different selections that you can do, and you'll see over there once again a little thing, the little light bulb telling you the field is not editable. The different values, and I can tell them to you now, are iVend unplugged, obviously, which is what this system's running as, which means that I'm not actually connected into anything else. Right, plugged into SAP Business One, plugged into a separate ERP, or not using an integration. You can't use the last one. You do have to go select one of these. That's it. That's the way it is. It needs to be either unplugged or integrated into a separate ERP or integrated to Business One. The interesting thing is that, guys, for your Sage integration, you'll select iVend unplugged. All right, and we have our first question of the day. And please remember, guys, I do go and I do recommend questions. Questions are an excellent way of me doing a couple of things. Step of one, the first one of them is for me knowing you're actually listening. And I can see the question over here is, I'm guessing from Simran, what if the client later changed the ERP system? Okay, guys, that would generally be a re-implementation of iVend. There's a very good reason for this. Is iVend uses the ERP system as the backbone for the system. Now, that is something that is quite important to note. Because it goes and it uses it as the backbone, it does mean that, and different ERPs require different settings. For instance, SAP may require certain numbering settings to be done in here, whereas Sage will require certain product categorizations. Also depending on which Sage product, as well as which nav product, as well as different setups in here. And they're also going to turn on and off features in iVend. And that is very important to note, is that a lot of the time is that these features are not always compatible with each other. Different ERPs got different feature sets. Different feature sets means that it makes it very difficult to go and just shift from one ERP to another with the same iVend implementation. Having said that, the Sage guys do have it a little bit easier because they're all within the Sage family. We have kind of designed it where you can go and switch between them over there. That's where we're kind of trying to go more with the integrations. But for the old school ones, that's the way it works, is integrations are integrations. Yes, you need to implement again. And that's recommended, by the way. Look, guys, to be very honest, you guys know what it's like when you are going and you sell a new ERP. Part of the big thing of the new ERP is the data cleansing. Is, you get a chance to go through and you get to clear out all those records and, remove all that stuff you no longer do and start off with a brand new, shiny, sparkly system that goes and cleans whiter and does dishes and integrates to coffee machines and all the rest of that. And that is obviously one big part of the sales pitch. The advantage of the way that we do things over here is you will be able to go take the setups of that previous system as a base for what you're going to do going forward. Like any system, you know, item masters can grow to huge sizes with things that people no longer sell. Businesses change over time, and sometimes just going and giving it a bit of a spring cleaning is not a bad idea. Look, it's not exactly like you're going and changing your ERP every 6 months, or you shouldn't be. And if you are, then somebody's then you've probably got some seriously great salesman there, or otherwise somebody's gullible. Right, localization type, this is also very important. We collect through to certain different localizations. These will also go and inform what you are going, and how the system reacts to certain things. Normally, this is more important for the SAP guys. For the rest of us, there are your normal localizations for like South Africa and for England. Look, for Africa, we're normally looking at either the UK localization or the South African localization, depending on where you are and depending on how you want things to go together. There is actually a different list of those there. Sales tax and purchase tax code. Guys, this is something that should come through from the ERP system. Okay. If it does not come through from the ERP system, it normally means that there is something that might need to be set up in order to go trigger it, which means that you can actually go and create separate tax codes here, and they will normally filter back through to ERP. Sometimes I find you might need to create a tax code over here called do not use or exempt or whatever it is, and then that will go and trigger it will just allow it to get past the enterprise settings screen, and then it will allow fully fledged integration both ways for iVend. Federal tax ID, also known as VAT number. Retail profile is one of the next things we're going to be having a look at. Allow negative inventory. Now, this is one of the great debates of retail, and particularly integrated retail, is negative inventory. Now, typically with ERP, you don't allow negative inventory. There's very few places I do know that have successfully used negative inventory. Most places start off with it and then just run for the hills, because it just never ever seems to work. You basically lose control over your inventory. Over here in retail, it's a slightly different story, and this is one of the few settings that does not go and filter back through to the ERP, and that's quite deliberate. Is with this, you can go and have iVend running a negative stock, but you can have your ERP running in positive stock. It means that you need to go keep a pretty close eye on what's actually going on in your sales and your integration log. But it's the reasoning behind going and allowing iVend to go to negative inventory is if, for instance, is as inventory does do, if it does go out on the shop, you could go and have somebody wander up to the cashier with the item that they want and say, "Hi, I'd like to buy this item." Cashier goes and tries to ring it up, and it goes and it says there's no inventory available. But there's the person trying to buy it. There's the customer's busy trying to buy the item right then and there. What are you going to do? Go and have the little cashier go and say, "Oh, hang on, wait a minute. I need to call my supervisor who's off on the other side of the store out on their lunch break. No, can you wait 45 minutes for us to go receipt more stock into the system to go and update it to all the rest of it?" No. They are just going to try and get it in as quickly as possible. Our next question is up for the day. Can this be updated from Iman? Hi, Iman. Right. Can this be updated anytime? Yes, it can. Right. That can be turned on and off. However, my recommendation is, once again, guys, just don't use it like a on-off button. Just, either turn it on or turn it off. Just rather leave it like that, because otherwise it's going to be one of those. Otherwise, you will really go send out your stock, and you'll probably need to get City Access support to go and resynchronize everything. Culture info. This is slightly different to the localization type that's up there. Culture info is actually how you want everything to go display over here. If I do the drop down, this is one of the things I normally do in the demos. As you will go see, we go and we support multiple culture infos, including things like Afrikaans in South Africa. And if I scroll all the way down, here, I know it's over here somewhere, where is Swahili? Yeah, there you go, Kiswahili. All right, so guys, this is not to say this is every language that we have over there, because we're built on the Microsoft stack. Microsoft stack has got languages coming out of its ears. It means that this means is that you can go and import in any of these languages into the system. There is an import file for it. You import it in, you open it up, and you get it in Esperanto if you want it, or Fijian, or Gaelic, or one of those ones. So you can do that, and you can set up the system like that. That's not a problem. But we are only translated to about 20 languages. Fortunately, they do include the top 20. Those are basically the top 20 languages on the planet. So they include things such as French, Portuguese, well, English, obviously, Dutch, as well as Chinese and Arabic are up there in our list. So those are already there. If you want to go and, once again, if you want to go import in more, that's fine. We've got no problem with it. You import it into the system. It's then set up and it moves on. Other thing to go consider, and guys, I know that you're all from different partners, but please realize we do encourage partners to go, one, work together, and two, if one of you guys does develop a translation for this, say in Afrikaans, what we would actually do is we would encourage you to go and sell it to others. So that is also available. Yes. Okay, Peter. Okay, Peter and Eric. All right. Okay, so Eric, your question is, if you allow negative stock and an item goes into negative, does it write any journals or alert to correct the stock anyway? Okay. Journal-wise, we don't do journals, and you'll see this in a minute. We might have a section marked financial. We don't have a general ledger, and we don't do journals basically because that's not our thing. What will happen is the transaction will sit in the integration log until either more stock is receipted in, at which point it will then reprocess and go back into the system and and then actually process through correctly, or until somebody goes and processes something on the ERP side to go take care of it. All right, if stock is sold at a negative value, what cost of sales is used? From Peter. What costing method does iVend use? Okay, all right, we're jumping a bit ahead to the item setup now, but just a sneak preview. Okay, first off, as you probably guessed from the previous answer I gave, right, we don't put a cost of sales to it. All right, that will be the two costing methods we use are standard or moving average. If we're integrated through to a ERP system, then we actually just process the transaction, and when it goes through to the ERP system, the way we design the integrations is it goes in and it will pick the cost of sale from the ERP itself. We just go and we record the transaction on that side. So if we are going and actually doing it on our side, it will pull through our cost of sale that has been calculated in the system. Even if it's a negative, we do understand that that is something that we have set up the system. We have tested that, so that does work. All right, the questions keep rolling in. That's good news, boys and girls. That means that people are listening and are not asleep. And we're only half an hour in of listening to me talk and talk and talk and talk. So I'm glad you're all awake. All right. Stepping up to the next thing, check credit limit. Now we've moved out of the more important settings, so there are some very important ones that we're about to go through, including one that's very, very handy to know about. So keep your eyes peeled. I'll tell you when we get there. All right, and the next one we have got from Jean-Paul. Does the language selected in the culture info automatically populate in the system? Yes. Yes, it does. Right. That will automatically go and be set. This is the base one for the system. As you see, my one's English United States. And the culture info over here it's not just the language. It's the culture info. It includes things like your date and time format settings, your currency, your date and time format, currency, where you put your currency symbol, things like that. That all goes and gets set over here by the culture info, and I'll show you in a second or two where we can actually go and change that and adjust it. In fact, I am going to change it because this is now probably set to dollars and it's not going to be particularly relevant to anyone, unless you're in Zim. Do we actually have any Zimbabweans here today? Just out of sheer curiosity, stick up your hand if you are from Zimbabwe. Wow, that's a lot of crickets. Okay, all right, moving on. So nobody from Zimbabwe over here. I was about to go congratulate them on going and moving on with their life. Okay, so another question over here. They're flying out today, and also in Nigeria. Okay, right. Thanks, Egu. Right, nice to have you guys here as well. We're spanning the continent at the moment. Right, okay, so check credit limit. Guys, you can set credit limits in the system for your customers and for your customers' side. For your vendors' side, we are less stringent on that because normally we would assume that the ERP would be handling that. We do handle vendors in some way and we will cover that, but over here the credit limit side is that's more normally associated with customers. Show product by vendor. Yes, because I just said that about us not doing so much, but we do some stuff for vendors, such as, for instance, if you're ordering and you've got default suppliers for certain products, you can actually go get them over there. You can get them grouped by their vendor, which makes it slightly easier to select. Allow price change while you are goods receipting the purchase order. Yes or no. I'm actually going to activate that because I want to. Pricing resolution, do you want to resolve it to the highest price or to resolve it to the lowest price? So that's normally resolved to the lowest. Apply, where exactly do you want to apply the tax discount on? Well, the sale discount, is it after tax or before tax? Yeah, I get it as well. Some places out there, apparently you're allowed to go discount after tax, which is weird, but okay. All right, support multiple transaction type mode. This over here allows you to, and I'm just going to need to pop across to the POS. Basically what this allows you to do is to go and have, say, for instance, you've got one item over here, and it's going to pop up in a second. Right, there goes a sale, and over here I go transaction mode, I then go refund, type in another item, and so I've got a refund and a sale in the same transaction. That's where you go and you set that setting over there. That's what that allows you to do. Otherwise, you can set it just all sales or only sales refunds, and yeah, that's that also depends on your on the business and your regional settings. Your business as well as what you need to set in your region. Multiple salespeople on a transaction item. Okay, next question. Okay, right, please expatiate on GRPO. Okay, all right, so allow price change while doing a goods receipt purchase order. So this means that, I've just had a question about this. So what this means is that when I am goods receipting the items, so I put a purchase order into the system, okay? Normally this would happen on things coming in from overseas. If the price has gone and changed for whatever reason, or a period of time has gone by, normally a purchase order is a purchase order. Once I've issued the purchase order and they've accepted it, that's the agreed upon price. But what can happen is that when I receipt goods back in, there could be a change in price for whatever reason. Okay, I might want to change the price to go and maybe hide costs, or otherwise I know that in certain places where the tax law has changed, I put in a purchase order a while back, I'm now actually receiving the goods. It's now 2-3 months later, I'm now receiving the goods. Now I can actually go and now that I'm receiving them, I've got a different tax or a different price associated with them, so I need to go change the price and the goods receipt of the purchase order. So that's something else that you can do over here. That's up to you if you want to turn that on or off. Oh, Dirk, how is it possible that more than one price is valid than an item? Okay. Okay, I guess this is coming in thick and fast. Okay, does it do multiple barcode in case to event? Yes, multiple barcodes we got covered. We'll cover that in products. How is it possible that more than one price is valid for an item? You might have more than one price valid for an item if the price changes. Once again, Dirk, please remember we are going and trying to cover We are trying to cover as many regions as possible. So it does mean that sometimes we do have options in here that might not necessarily make sense in one region, but please remember just what it does because, yeah, we probably need it in another region. So, yeah, these are things that do happen out there. Sorry, guys, this is, but yeah, this is what does happen. The worldwide funny place of retail. Next thing up is allow multiple salespersons on a transaction item. And the entire idea behind this is that on my actual transaction item over here, if I go item edit, right there, I would normally only put one salesperson associated with this transaction item. I can actually go and have multiple salespeople for that item, which means that, for instance, if two people help me buy something, they might each get, say, one might get 60%, other one might get 40% of the commission. So I can also put that into the system. Open sales attribute automatically. We're going to come to sales attributes a bit later. These are like additional fields or user-defined fields that you can go and attach to the actual sales transaction itself. So if there's more information that you need to go put into the sale, this typically comes up for things like duty-free. So, you know, your flight number, your ethnicity, your age range, all the rest of it, airline you're traveling with, passport number, you know, fingerprint, blood analysis, all the rest that they take at the airports these days. That is something that you might need to go put in over here. Otherwise, it's so we can have that automatically open up, and then people need to go put that in. Collect entire sales order amount in advance. This is if you are going to do advance payments. So you go and you place a sales order for something. You want to force them to go and get the entire down payment. You can force them to do that there. I love this one. Gift certificate allows sale and redemption in a single transaction. So basically, I can give you a gift certificate as part of a transaction. You know, buy this item, get a 50 Rand gift certificate. Yay. At the same time, I can use that 50 Rand gift certificate to redeem something against the transaction. So it basically means you're giving somebody something to go and actually redeem, to go and actually use against you, which we must have had call for it somehow. Improve iVend retail by sending anonymous usage data. That's up to you guys. Really, I know these anonymous usage data things are out there. If you want to do it, please do it. If you don't want to do it, well, yeah, that's fine. No skin off my nose. Okay, Kara, from Willem, we have, do you need UDFs and SAP B1 for the attributes? Not necessarily. We do come to the sales attributes a bit later, but but you can actually link them through to the UDFs and B1, and we are fully integrated both ways with the sales attributes. In fact, with most of our user-defined fields, they are integrated bidirectionally for all of the for the integrations. It just makes it far easier than trying to go and create one and then having to go remap it and do stuff like that. So. And that's available over there for you to do that. Automatically select serial or batch number. I would recommend you leave this on manual. What this is basically saying is that if I go and scan an item that is a serialized item or a batched item, does it go and does it force me to go scan the serial? Is it going to force me to select which serial or batch number it is, which is kind of the idea? Or, you know, does it go and just say, well, you're taking whichever expiry date is first, or your lowest lowest cost one first, or your highest cost one first? So depending, do you want to do LIFO or FIFO, or it's going to look at the creation date and use that one first, even though that might not be necessarily correct. And then if only one is available, then it's just going to automatically select it. Otherwise, it will force you to do it manually. Allow user-defined product ID. Guys, this is one of these things that you do need to be aware of, is with iVend, you can go set your own product IDs. Normally, we set the system to go create product IDs, and so product codes, because the thing is that if you've got multiple stores, back to my favorite slide. So if this place creates an item with a certain product code, and this place creates an item with the same product code, there could be conflict. So if you're going to go and select that the setting that we have over here, allow user-defined product ID. It basically forces all products to be made at the enterprise here. Otherwise, at the store or at the stores, if you want them to allow it, they need to do automatic ID management. Technically, stores should not really be going and making a lot of their own items, but there are certain exceptions that prove the rule. So those are available over here. So you do have this setting. This over here, user-defined product ID. Normally we pull the product IDs from the ERP anyway, which is typically where you should do more of your management of it. Well, depending on what sort of business you're in. Allow partial receiving of inventory. So can you do a part receipt of a purchase order or not? And this one over here, yes, I've been promising that there was an important setting in here for you guys to go keep you guys listening in. This is certainly one of them, and this is the replication batch size. Now, like I said earlier, like I said yesterday actually, iVend is a near real-time system. So everything tries to move as quickly as possible across here. However, I did also go say that there is a waiting system on the information. Sales move faster than, say, item master updates. And with that, this basically goes and this replication batch size governs the speed and how it basically helps govern that speed. So if you find, and particularly I normally find this in test situations where, hey, I've just made a change to the item master. Now I need to wait, I need to wait a bit for it to go move across to the POS, and I'm testing and I don't want to do that. Then you can also go drop the replication batch size over here from say 5,000 to say 500, which will go and increase the speed. You can also increase it if it's not necessary. It won't affect things like sales, but things like master data updates might go and take a bit longer to go through. Adjusting the size is something that I would only really recommend on a test system. I will repeat again, only do this on the test system, right? Otherwise, in real life, you are going to, the problem is that the smaller this number is, the more network traffic you get. So, on a test system, maybe 2 or 3 maybe a point of sale, a store server, and an enterprise server, you're fine, right? And that's operating on gigabit Ethernet, sweet. You drop this and you've got say 100 stores, 500 POS, and you're operating over a 1 megasecond line. Yeah, that's just asking for pain. Okay, are you allowed to add in items for the goods return? If you want to go and do multiple goods returns and things like that, you can also do that. I do want to do that. Next thing up, do you want to be able to backdate the end of day process? So this is if, okay, and this is quite important over here, particularly if you're going and dealing with 24-hour shops. I don't know some of you are because I've already talked to you on this session and we have a question. So let me just finish this point and I'll get right to the question. Now, the important thing to note about this is that with backdating the end of day process, it means that you do not need to go and do the end of day precisely today. You can go to the end of day tomorrow. So today's end of day tomorrow, or I could do yesterday's end of day today. It does mean that you don't need to have somebody hovering there at 12 o'clock at night to go and do the end of day just because. It means that you can actually take a bit of time off and allow them to go and do what they need to when. Question time. Okay, Eric asks, is this size seconds or minutes? Okay, all right, you're referring to the replication batch size. It's records. Okay, just to go and add, just to go and make it a bit interesting. It's not minutes, it's not seconds, it's records. So the thing is that your actual waiting system, like I said, it starts with sales transactions, and then sales transactions, stock transactions, purchasing transactions. Then it sort of gets down to your different master datas, and it basically waits for enough of those. Essentially, what this is going and doing is. And I will let me just go bring up a notepad over here and then I can actually go and show you this. So what's going to happen is that it's going to go and if each of these A's over here is a sale, it's basically going to go and wait until it goes and it gets enough of them and then it triggers. Right. So, and because of the weighting system, it's going to go and look. It first goes and it looks for, say, a sale, then purchase, then stock, then, and this is, don't take this as the actual way the weighting system works. This is purely an example. Anyone screenshotting this will be shot and then drawn and quartered. So it's first got to, so what happens every time with this is it first looks for sales, then looks for purchases, then looks for stock, stock updates, then looks for, then master data. Okay, so what happens every time is it starts there, it goes there, goes there, goes there. The first thing it does, so what happens is it's going to go sale. Oh, find sale. Okay, replicate. Okay, back. Oh, find sale. Okay, replicate. Go back. So it might, the problem is that it goes sale. Okay, purchase. Okay, then it might go, okay, no sale. Hang on. Okay, now I'll find a purchase. And so it goes down the list of these things, and it's sort of, and eventually it might get down to master data. Essentially what we're saying over here is that it goes sale. Okay, no, we've done enough sales. Okay, purchase. Okay, hang on, wait. Now we need to go force through a master data, and then it will do that. Once again, it's not this, a replication batch size is something that I do not recommend you go and remove or change, except on maybe very large systems, and then you're only going to start adding zeros to this. In test systems, guys, test systems, test. That's where you might change it, because they're obviously speed and timing does matter. Yeah, that's pretty much the only place and the only time you go and you change that. Okay, backdate end of day process, and then allow duplicate barcodes on products. Yes, guys, the wonderful world of barcodes out there that the world has, it does mean that you can get duplicate barcodes on certain products for certain things. So we do allow it. You can set it in. You can change it. I don't recommend it. For God's sakes, please don't do it. You know, really, it's it will go and cause issues. What I'm not saying over here is that you need to have one unique barcode per product. You can have alternate barcodes per product. That's not a problem. But it does mean over here that you could have the same barcode again and again and again and again for the same product with different meanings. So just be very careful about that. Or two products with the same barcode. So that's something that it does happen. Not everyone assigns their own barcodes. Some manufactured barcodes are duplicated because they don't code register with the Barcode Council. And anyway, we can cater for it. For those of you dealing with pharmaceuticals, and I know some of you are out there, I saw you on the list. You know your names. You know your names, and you probably talked to me about this already. Expiry date required for batch or serial item. Pharmaceuticals right up there on this, and we do list pharmaceuticals as one of our things. Also, probably you're going to find this as well on things like printer cartridges, fresh, food, stuff like that. Coffee, I happen to know, is one of the things that does have expiry dates for batch items on it. Use advanced authorization. Ooh, yes. Okay, right there. I will show you more of that a bit later. Allow over-receiving on stock receipts and goods receipt purchase orders. You can under-receive in goods receipts, purchase orders, and in stock transfers. The reason we don't immediately go check this is that in some cases you can do it, in some places you can't. Over here, we do actually want to go, and I do actually want to go do this because I normally find this quite handy. Please remember that sometimes when you do a goods receipt for your purchase order, you can have extra promotional items thrown in. I've seen this happen. We had a couple of cases where you get, where all of a sudden, hey, oh yeah, and then the last thing, oh, we threw in some demo stock. Wonderful. You can do that over here. Inventory count merge setting. Okay, if you've got multiple inventory counts out there, you can go merge them all together and post them as one. You can choose either the current date, earliest date, or latest date. I would recommend just leave it as current date. Please don't have multiple inventory counts outstanding. It's just, yeah, no, we do support having multiple ones. That's fine. For the love of God, please don't do it, because then you have to go and try and explain it to somebody, and your head will explode. Please don't do it. And then you will ask me to explain it, and my head will explode. And at the end of the day, they'll just be, no, we're not going there. Enable locations. Yes, we do want to enable locations, and I'm going to do that a bit later because I've got some setups I need to do for that, so I'm going to do that in between now and tomorrow. Enable log replication. That's if you want to replicate the log between different areas, between different places. So, for instance, you want to go and replicate the log between stores. I don't really recommend doing this. It's up to you, really, if you want, really, but no. Yeah, right. Up to you. Okay. Next one up is allow zero price, because obviously there are some items out there that do have a zero price. The aforementioned promotional items, for instance. I think I saw one of a promotional fly swatter or a hand fan or something like that. Some of these things do get given away for free. Some of these things do have zero prices. If you do not have this ticked, you will not be allowed to go sell an item at zero price. Even if you go and you put that as zero cost, even if you go and you put it as zero price in the system, it's going to get to the point of sale and say, sorry for you. Too bad. Questions again, strike out. Here we go. Sorry, didn't catch that. Jean-Paul. Sorry, didn't catch quite what you said about stock transfer in DemoStack. Jean-Paul, please remember this isn't just DemoStack. This is normal iVend, but that's allow over receiving. I think that that you might have missed, which is if you are going to go and receive additional items in, even if they didn't get shipped, or if they accidentally got shipped, because sometimes this does happen where people go and accidentally receive things onto the wrong order. It is available over there. Next one up, inter-store transactions. Ooh, allowed. First one up is allowed delivery from general warehouse. Guys, I know over here this is fairly simplified. You can actually have a distribution warehouse over here. A lot of the large groups have them, where they will have a separate distribution point going and sitting off in the cloud somewhere, and you can go and then have that as a distribution point, and you can sell from it if you want. Well, you can deliver from it, and that's essentially what this tick box is saying. Do you want to do that? As well as use inter-store transactions. Using inter-store transactions is, for instance, I can sell at store A or store 1, something from store 1. I can do the sale over here, and then the person can go and pick this thing up from store 2. Fairly straightforward stuff. Okay, next up is, transaction server. Now, the transaction server is something that is quite important. Having said that, this over here, the entire idea behind the transaction server is to try to go and ease some of the spikes that you can get during the day for certain times of transactions, particularly if they keep on going and referring back to the enterprise a lot for whatever reason. So for instance, this might be if you've got a lot of recalls, or if you've got a very high transaction period, or if you want to go and even distribute the data between places, you can use what's called the iVend transaction server. Now, the entire idea with the transaction server is that if I do a sale over here in store 1, it will replicate the information of the sale across here to store 2. So instead of me, if I go and I do a stock lookup, instead of it going and having to pull it from the enterprise server every time, it will just keep the information locally. It does mean that there is slightly higher network, there's slightly higher overall network traffic. It does also mean that you go and you get a decrease in spikes of network traffic, which is something else to go consider. It's there, it's available. It used to be a licensed part. And I will warn you now, I think there might be a question where it does go ask if this is licensed or not, right? So fair's fair. If you do get that one, and if you do get it wrong, well, we'll have to see on the day. But this over here will basically allow you to go and distribute. It does mean that as well, your store server database size is going to increase. So that's something else to go and just keep an eye out for. But at the same time, once it's done, it's done. You know, it is set up and it is there, and you can carry on with it. And it does help going and having that set. Right, next one up, transaction rollup. Now, this is very important for you ERP guys, because as you might know, when we do transactions in iVend, a lot of the time, if it's just a walk-in person, we actually do the transaction against this cash customer. So he is just, because obviously most ERP systems require you to have a customer, because of course, how could you sell to somebody who's not a customer? Because they're an ERP, and that's the way ERP works. Following that miraculous logic over there, we've had to create a cash customer. This guy is somebody who walks in and says, I would like to buy something. You go and you sell it to him, he walks out the door, you never see him again, ever. Right, that is the cash customer over here. But as well, during the day, particularly in high transaction, in places with high transactions, such as, for instance, FMCG, so your supermarkets, supermarkets being the real one where you go and you see a lot of this, is you go and you see these guys wandering in, wandering out, purchasing something, wandering out. That's it. Thousands of these transactions. And instead of having all of these clog up your ERP system, we've included this, which is transaction rollup. Now, transaction rollup goes and takes, we receive the transactions, the cash customer transactions into iVend, and then what we push through to the ERP is just one transaction. So we still have the details of the transaction here in iVend. We've still got, the 20,000 invoices that were put through in a single day for a specific person. That's still there. But for instance, but as well, that's something else that, just what goes across to your ERP is one transaction. It lists everything that got sold. It lists it at the right price. It lists it with the right discount. It lists it with all the rest of it that goes through. That just bangs through to the ERP. But it's only one transaction as opposed to going and having millions and millions and millions of them. It also means that it doesn't slow down the ERP. It also means that it does mean that you do slightly go and batch the system a little bit. But it does mean that you're not going, that you don't have, that your people can still keep on using your ERP. They're not sitting there waiting, going saying, oh, you can't use this machine. Oh, it's terrible. You can't use Sage between 3 and 4 o'clock because everyone's doing transactions. Said that you can now go say, yes, you can do it because you've got this over here. You'll see over here it goes and it says roll up cash customer only invoices. So you can, if you do have a case where you've got multiple customers who do that a lot, you can do that as well. You can have it for all customers or just for cash customers. You can have use the store cash customer for roll up. So that means that's a slightly different one. You can have different cash customers per store. So for instance, over here, I'll have store 1 cash customer, I'll have store 2 cash customer. It then splits it into 2 separate invoices in the ERP. Over here, interval type, roll up every day at a certain time or roll up after hours. And then you can go set when it does that or roll up every day at a certain time. And then you just put a number in there corresponding with the 24-hour clock. Okay. Next up, loyalty. Yes or no? I'm going to go yes over here. I will need to set some things up for it, but that's we will get to go see that a bit later. Subsidiaries, we do support subsidiaries over here. Guys, please remember this is a subsidiaries over here is limited in some ERP systems. Okay, and what I mean by subsidiaries is, for instance, Cape Union Mart. If you're familiar with them out here in South Africa, they've got, I think the other one of their subsidiaries is Old Car Key, or another one is Clicks, the Clicks group, Clicks Store group. One of their subsidiaries is Musica, which, yeah, is sort of surviving. But, you've got these different subsidiaries, but you've got the one main company, but you've got different subsidiaries. Now, obviously, in some cases, the Cape Union Mart and the Old Car Key one is actually slightly more relevant because the Cape Union Mart sells Old Car Key clothes. Old Car Key only sells Old Car Key clothes. They don't sell anything from Cape Union Mart. So with this, once you activate it, you can then segment your database. So you can set which stores can sell what things. You can set which customers can go to which stores. You can go either split your customers. You can have them all together. So assign all customers to all subsidiaries, different items per subsidiary, different tax codes per subsidiary. All of that can be set over here at the subsidiary level. There is a question of subsidiaries. I do encourage you to go and just look up and go see about that. So yeah, that is my little tip for today. There is a question on subsidiaries in the exam. Enterprise logo. Yeah, you can load up a logo over here and it appears on all the printouts. Yay! Finally, yes, no, I'm not done yet. There are one or two. There's two buttons over here, and I'm determined to go get to them. Well, actually, there's four buttons here, but the first two are to add logo or remove a logo. Next one over here is custom series. Now, guys, this is something that you have to understand, is that there's a lot of places where we set up custom series in the system. And this is very important because the custom series over here is we set up one for customer, we set up for vendor, we set up for product. And these ones, this one over here applies only to the enterprise server. You'll set up, you will see a bit later, we're going to set up the same custom series setup for the store, for each store. And the reason we do that is because obviously, while we're not a real-time system, we're a near real-time system. That means that theoretically you could have one little okey poke over here going and creating something at the store. At the same time, somebody's creating it over here at this store and they've got the same name and number, which will then go in conflict and then pain, suffering, all the rest of it. So to avoid that, each store's got its own numbering series. It's also a case of if the internet is down, no more internet. Facebook has disappeared. Whatever will we do? You will be able to go and still create your items at the store. And then when the internet returns, everyone cheers and catches up on their latest tweets. They can then go, they will not be sitting around going and dealing with database insert conflicts as they try and go and as they try to go and reconcile the numbers back together. Okay, so important stuff, this, very important. Start number and length. So start number 1, length 10. So that'll be C with 10 zeros and a 1 at the end. Okay. Well, C with 9 zeros and 1 at the end. Questions? Cool. Some people are listening. How do these prefixes not clash with the ERP prefixes? Okay. Preferably you don't create them the same as the ERP prefixes. These are manually created. So, and as you guys should be setting up the ERP as well, then yeah, please don't set them up so they clash, because I will be upset then, and yeah, that just wouldn't work. Please don't do that. That's actually part of the reason that we don't go and that we don't, the reason we manually define them is so that you can make sure they don't clash. Otherwise we do it automatically because it's just much easier. All right. Is everyone still awake? I know Peter is. He just asked me a question. How about everyone else? Guys? Simran? Okay, right. Yeah, okay, right. Yep, everyone. Yes, I see hands. Hands! Woohoo! Great. Okay, more questions. Yes, yes. Okay, right. Eric, sweet! I can't believe it. I'm so proud of you guys. Okay, all right. Right there. I know it's trying, but yeah. Thanks for going and listening. Oh, and by the way, we're not finished yet. So, right, moving on quickly. All right, so after that, I'm just going to go across. We've just got some last bits to go do, and we've got some other bits over here to cover. But fortunately, we have covered some of the bits with the heavy lifting in. Now, one of the things I do quickly want to go across and show you is in the enterprise, I mentioned the system, I mentioned the cultural info. And this over here is part of what is set with that is the system display settings. Now the system display settings over here go and set things that you'll have your main English, well your main language as well as that, as well as your description. You will have the date, so now you start to get things like your date time separator, your all of those things that are date time, hours, minutes, days, date patterns, month separators. All these wonderful things that you get over here. Negative signs, positive signs. Yes, plus and minus. Because I know some places they like to put things in brackets. So yeah, go figure. Decimal, how many decimal digits? How many, what's your number negative pattern? Okay, that's a new one. All right, currency digits, all the rest of it, all these things. Normally in ERPs, there is some place where you can go and actually set a lot of this. This is a place where we go and we set it over here. The important one for me at the moment is I'm actually going to change this from dollar to rand because now it will look more familiar, hopefully. Okay. And it's telling me to go and restart the system, which I'll do in a minute. Fortunately, yeah, I can actually continue on without that. There are some other settings over here. I'm not going to go and hurry through them too much. I'm not going to spend too much time on them because there is one important one over here that I do want to do, and it's linked to this button that's at the bottom of enterprise settings called import settings, and it's this one over here, export configuration package. The entire idea about this, guys, if you do have questions, please type the questions. Yeah, the raised hand thing, yeah, it doesn't seem to work so well. So, and I see we're picking up more people as we go along. Sweet. Okay, yeah, if you've got a question, please type it. I'll answer it. All right, the entire idea behind the export configuration package is you get a lovely test system up and running. It's working like a dream. Everything's going, the numbering set up, and then users come along and, like with any test system, they throw garbage data into it, like garbage master data items and things like that. So you then would need to go set up a live system, and instead of having to go reset everything, you now instead just want to go and say, oh, well, right, let's go and let's instead just go and export what we can. So this allows you to go and export a configuration package of these specific setups, and your enterprise setup, your event setup, hardware setup, labels, loyalty config, all these things which you will see does not actually include things like products or customers. It includes customer groups, product groups, and product classes, but not the actual products and customers. And we'll go and export these from here. You can then save this. And then when you go set up your live system, you go along to enterprise, you go set your initial settings here, and you go to import settings. It will then go and import in and set up the rest of the settings over here, meaning you do not need to go and set up quite as much as you would have before. Please remember, it will not go and, please remember there are still settings you need to set over here in order for it to work. So just be careful of that. Okay, it's not going to go set up everything. We tried that, it doesn't work. Jean-Paul, you keep putting your hand up. If there's a question, please go and type it up, and I will go and I will answer it, and then we can go and get it sorted. Okay, cool. Things like document number series. You can create individual document number series. We do keep our own internal document number series that is in the system itself. We do keep an internal document numbering series within the system that's system generated. You can create these. These actually do come through to the ERP systems, and here you can put in things like prefixes, suffixes, and all the rest of it. We do not use the document numbering series from the ERP for a very good reason, and that is that we're not even playing that guessing game. That's far too far down the rabbit hole for how we want to go. If there is a way of going and assigning the document numbering series to the user, fine. Not every ERP works that way. We generate our own document numbering series, we import it in, and once it's imported and once it's integrated in to the actual system, it will then go and pick up the numbering series that's there. And that's it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, by the way, the nice thing about this is that you can just create one default series, and then it works for everything. You don't need to create multiple series for, well, if you want to create multiple document series for, say, goods receipt, purchase orders, sales, sales invoices, credit notes, all the rest of it, you can do that if you want, but typically we just go and we create one document numbering series and use it as default for everything. Excuse me. Questions? Is there a difference? Okay, all right, from Bernadine. All right, Keith, what is the difference between the custom series and the document number series? Okay, the document number series is for documents. So purchase order, sales order, sales order quote, goods receipt, stock transfer receipt, stock transfer shipment, stock, those things. Those are documents. The custom series that I showed you earlier in the enterprise is specifically for customers, vendors, and products. Okay, and so while customers, vendors, and products are things that do definitely need to be set up with a numbering series, your actual document numbering series is something that we just create in iVend. Next one up from Kiru. Right. I'll get there, Iman. Next one up. Is it possible to reference this document number series in invoices generated in the ERP system? Yes, it is possible to go and generate it. Yes, it is. Normally, the document number series is actually integrated in, not imported. We don't do imports, we do integrations. It's integrated into the actual invoices that are in the system. So you should see it in either a user-defined field in SAP or SAP or NAV, or additional fields, or whatever the name is for the extra fields that is in your particular persuasion of ERP system. They do normally pull through. I think the only one that doesn't go and actually normally appear, that might not really do that, is Sage 1. But that's more because of the unique way that Sage 1 is. So, but even then, I do think there is references that come through to it. Iman says, why is this required for each POS? It's recommended for each POS because if we go and we have a look over here, technically you shouldn't actually have it for each, well, it's not actually required for each POS, but you can have different ones for each POS, particularly if you're doing offline POS. If you're doing offline POS, then it's required. Because then with your offline POS, you do actually need to go and have those. You do actually need to go and have separate ones there, because if a POS is offline, it obviously doesn't know the numbering series, it can't connect through, then you need to go and activate it, and, well, it needs to go have its own numbering series assigned to it. All right, and we've still got them pouring in at the moment. Okay, right, you're welcome, Iman. Right, okay, so next up. Okay, next up, I'm now going to jump across, okay, through, and we're just going to have a quick look at application setup. These includes things like your user-defined fields. These are extra fields that you can add into the system as you want. Like I said, if you add them in, and you'll see that you can add them in on most places here, including business transactions, which are the aforementioned documents that I was talking about. Those you can go and have them link back. This is also a place where you can change your property caption setup, email and SMS template schedule, and also do things like import and export data. Guys, this is quite important. Importing data, we can import in a lot of data from Excel. We use the XLS file format. And in fact, over here, let's go down to C drive. We go down to program files. We go to city access. We go to iVend retail. And we go to management console. And we go to import templates. And here are all the import templates. Okay, well, they're not all the import templates, but these are the import templates that we have and we give you. There are more templates that you can actually get by going and doing the extract from the system. It will actually give you the template format. And these things are things such as promotions that you can import in. Promotions, product surcharges, accounts receivable, user-defined tables, historical transaction zip code, I'll leave you guys to go read through this. Congratulations, you just got homework. Including things like document number series. You can actually go import in a document number series, which is rather cool. So that will go help. Remember that the import format is XLS, not XLSX. So you're still looking at the MS Excel 97 to 2003 worksheet. So there are some limitations to that. I think you're limited to 65,000 rows. Yeah, by the time you're getting up to 65,000 rows, yeah, okay, it's going to take a while, but yes, no, well, fine. That's the way it is. You can also do things like you can do the import of multiple tabs. So, right, does the file have a header or not? What's the sheet name? All the rest of it, you can import it in. Guys, please remember that there are certain things that are imported and set up in the ERP, and there are certain things that are imported and set up in iVend. Right? It is very hard. I know there is overlap. Try not to let that be a thing, right? You know, mind blown, all the rest of it. I know it happens, right? But there are certain things that you will need to import in iVend, document number series, promotions, stuff like that. And there's certain things that we will pull from the ERP. Please consult your ERP guide, ERP integration guide for exact specifics. Okay, and there's also alerts which we come to in a later session. Financials. Currencies and exchange rates we will pull from the ERP. If you are using iVend Unplugged, you can go and create additional currencies over here. You can link them accounting IDs if there's a different accounting ID for you. You can also go and do different descriptions, put in different cultural information. Please be careful on your base currency. The cultural information should match the cultural information in your enterprise over here. If they don't, it can lead to confusion, as well as also it starts to go and display funny characters and stuff like that. So please just be aware your cultural information over here in the currency for the base currency, only for the base currency, right? The base currency's cultural information needs to go match the one that's set in the enterprise. After that, you're fine. You can also do things like adding in details over here, and this is like if you want, for instance, 1 cent. So 1C, and you can also put a value for 0.01. You can put a value for that over there, and you can carry on down if you want to, all the way down to the bottom, you know, $100 bills or whatever else you might be dealing, whatever your currency is. The reason you'll put this in here is if you are doing a detailed count for your tills, when you're doing a till count. Some places want this. I know, it's weird, but okay, some of them do. Some places are just happy doing a summary count, in which case you go say, I've got $584.01. Okay. Things like your exchange rates, these will be pulled through from your exchange rates get pulled through from your from the ERP normally. If they are in the ERP, they'll be pulled through here. If they are not in the ERP, they will be pulled. If you are not integrated to the ERP, you can go and enter them in here. Please be aware, you cannot set the exchange rate at the store. Exchange rates is a finance function, and I've had this argument before with partners. Exchange rates is a finance function. You can't set it at the store itself, because then all of a sudden you get somebody going saying, oh well, I'm just going to discount this thing through the floor, you know, and it can cause issues. Please be aware of that. So this is a finance function. You can actually go set it for longer timeline horizons than this. So for instance, I can actually go set it for a whole 4 days. Otherwise I can set it for weeks and months and years if I want. Recommended is normally months if you're going to do forward cover, particularly if you are experiencing bad internet connectivity. So yeah, that's something else to consider. Next up is, okay, we also got surcharges, which equates through to things like freight. Put it either as amounts or percentages, whether they're refundable, are they taxable, or do you load them on item cost or not, and do you go and use a payment surcharge with refunds. Guys, if you're using layaways, depending on your area, this is a very important setting, because this, and I do know this is for South Africa, is if you do layaways, you do need to go use this, because there is a fee, a layaway fee that goes with it. That's regulated by National Credit Regulator or something like that. Anyway, it's regulated by someone in the government who you now need to go charge that to. If you don't charge it, you give it away. Layaways are a bit of a thing out here. Anyway, we have figured it out. It does work. You use this, and then there are other setups that you do need to be aware of. Next up, because I can hear that you're all riveted to the screen over there. Tax codes. Yay! We covered this slightly earlier. Guys, this is coming from the ERP. Well, except in the case of stage 1 where you will generate these automatically, but if you've done tax codes in ERP, it's not that much different here. Set your rate, set your current rate. You can have you can go and have multiple dates when it goes off and on, or when it goes and inevitably raises, because taxes go up. I've very rarely ever heard of them coming down, except in ancient times. So yeah, just be careful of that one. But then we also get to some of the other things that we start to look at, and this is where we have now gone and expanded on what you can actually do for taxing an iVend. Now, please remember, iVend is an international product. We go and we cover the world. Yes, we do. Yes, of course we do. Yes. And in the world, you get some really funky places like the good old US of A, where they have got, where if you have a look at the way they sell liquor, for instance, is an absolute nightmare. And you can you get town laws, you get county, you get town laws, you get county laws, you get state laws, you get federal laws, and they can change from place to place. So quite literally, you can have two stores across the street that have got different tax laws for liquor. Now, one of the things that we do is we've got these tax events, which you can go set up for a customer or a customer group or a product group with a specific, once you've selected that, you can also put in the tax code for a time and date that's associated with it. A lot of the guys who are going and setting things up in Dubai were using this because Dubai is due to host the World's Fair, and they've got a special exemption tax or that you're meant to go pay to go and host the World's Fair or World Expo or whatever it's called these days. Anyway, that thing in Dubai. So now because you're an expatriate, you now have to pay more money because just more money. Go figure. You figure that the oil would be enough. Anyway, next up to help us deal with even the more confusing ones out there is we have these business conditions set up, and now we go truly ballistic. So which sort of business partners do you want? Customers or vendors, or customer group or vendor group? And please remember, you can import this in. Yeah, we're not expecting your head to go and explode, having to go type this in for each and every single one of these, but it is available here. Okay. Is it for certain product types, product classes, or product groups? For you Sage 300 fundies out there, product, that's your product category does integrate through to your product group in iVend. You do need to go watch out for your terminology a bit. Yeah, but we do have a full iVend to Sage, iVend to 300, 300 to iVend dictionary. So, right, you know, we can also go help you with that. Also things like warehouses. So is it for a specific warehouse? Please remember a warehouse is a store in iVend. So that's also something else you can set up. Is it for a certain minimum price, maximum price, what condition, and then also ship to country, ship to date, from time to time, all the rest of it. All the way out, you can, and indeed there's even extra ones where you can start to go and add in additional UDFs and all the rest of it. You can really go ballistic on this to go and actually get, to go and add this in. I need to add UDFs in order to activate the functionality, but it is there. Yep, and their surcharges, yeah, I think we covered these a bit earlier. I have a question. Okay, got it now, right there. Should these not be defined within the ERP? Okay, the reason that we don't define them in the ERP, Peter, is because not every ERP can handle it. I take it that you know, the thing is with ERPs is that they're generally set up, the normal way that they're set up, the normal way that they operate is most of them have got fairly simple tax rules. I know X3 is different. Same thing with SAP ECC6 and NAV you can go ballistic on. But a lot of the other ones, and please remember this is more something that we try and cover on the lower end of the ERP systems. So for instance, and I am picking on Sage 1 here because it is the one that I normally look at when you're going to see a lot of this stuff is, for instance, Sage 1 would not be able to go handle that sort of tax setup. So that's why we have it. Please remember, guys, that if we do have something and you think, well, that's odd, that doesn't really sit in here, please remember that in some cases we do deal with extremely, extremely, extremely simple accounting systems. They're not ERPs, they're accounting systems. And because of that, they can't handle, you know, right, this, if you sell liquor at this one place instead of that place, you know, you get two different types of prices and taxes, and you know, then unless it's Tuesday and the planets have aligned and God knows what else has happened. So yeah, so that's in there. So that's something that you do have to take into account, and please be aware that it is something that we have to take into account, and that's, yeah, we have things like that. Yeah, banking, yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, bank setup, yeah, code description. Okay, now that I've done that, we can actually get through to the meat of what we're looking at, which is the actual retail profile. And I'm sorry, I am running a little bit long today. I do realize that. Please bear with me. Please bear with me, please. That's more because we got a lot of stuff to do and we really need to get moving. So, okay, retail profile. This over here, and the retail profile is really the core of what we start going and looking at in iVend. It's one of the things that goes and controls a lot of how the system operates for the individual user. And once you understand that the retail profile goes and appears again and again and again and again throughout the following screens. We've already seen it appear in one place, which is at the enterprise, where we selected the default retail profile, and that is perfectly normal. A default retail profile is will come automatically with the system. It's like the first user, user one. This is over here. It's set up. You just select it. That's done. The retail profile over here, the entire reason with the retail profile is that I fully expect you to have multiple retail profiles. I'm not expecting you to just have one. That's also part of the reason that we've used the copy functionality. So F6, you hit F6 on your keyboard, and you will copy it. And you will go see that it goes and appears in here, and you can then go and adjust it which way you want. So this includes things like default transaction modes. So, you know, person opens up the POS, what mode is it in? Is it in sales? Is it in refund? Is it in layaways? Is it in quotes? Any of those. POS lockout times, POS idle times, forcing login per transaction. So must they log in every single transaction or not? Use zip validations, transaction grid headers. There we go. Keyboard modes. Do you display a keyboard for authorization or not? That depends whether the keyboard's plugged in or not. Keyboard mode. This is if you're using a programmable keyboard, or if you're using an AZERTY keyboard, which is French. French. So, right, so you guys from Cameroon can keep an eye on that. Open item edit for you automatically, new row for scan. A lot of these things over here are fairly straightforward. I'm not going to go through them. Read through the help. Please remember, does everyone remember everyone remember what the shortcut for help is? In fact, that's a question. I'm now going to ask. Okay, right. Yes, I see hands up. Okay, all right. Good. Control F1. Jan, it's not Control Shift, it's Control F1. Control Shift F1. No, it's not Control Shift F1, it's Control F1. So, right, here we go. F1. Yeah. Okay, right. Control Shift F1. So those are there. Please remember it. Particularly in a place like this, even I go and I end up referring to it because this is definitely the place where I go and they sometimes sneak in new settings and forget to tell me. So I go in here, and it's got all the things over here that you can go and find out about. It will go and explain it to you in pretty good detail, and you'll be able to go see exactly how everything fits together. But it does include some quite important things. For instance, refund for promotional items, which I am going to activate because I need that a bit later. Refund without a receipt, refund or exchange without a receipt. All right there, which amounts do you give in currencies? Your promotional, right there. Do you print suspended transactions or not? Delete suspended transaction, auto add cashier. Warn if transaction line is empty, it's no salesperson, mandatory salespeople, negative inventory resolution, which we'll go into a bit later to go and see how that works. Quick complete, we'll see a bit later, as well as also really important things like, well, first off, use default business status for transaction search, as well as do I want to change the application theme. So for instance, I can go change it through to Valentine's. No, wait, oops, sorry, no. Valentine's, there we go. So all you ladies out there, you can have it lovely and put little hearts on it and tie little ribbons around it and all the rest of it. Yeah, there's also Christmas and coffee and liquid skies in London and just stuff out here. These are all the fairly standard skins that are included in the actual, that are included in the setup pack. Guys, yeah, if you, the next question I normally get at this point is, can we go and do our own skin? Not really. Please remember the skin is focused on the management console side. It's not for the POS side. The POS side, you can change to whatever you want. Management console side, not so much. This over here, well, as always, if you pay us enough money, yes. Otherwise, no. Okay. Allow login if business date not the same as current date. Sales without serial or batch. Yeah, product image and search. Yeah, we're going to do that one. As well as, what your POS layout is. So what's your associated POS layout that you're using? Import file delimiters. So if you are importing, and please remember, guys, there are some import files over here that are TXT files. And these are specifically for our transactions. So for instance, if you're doing an import count, if you're doing a inventory count, do you use commas? Do you use semicolons? Please don't use semicolons. Do you use tabs? Those work as well. You can go set your file delimiter there. Also, show available items, check for cash draw status, as well as check for printer status. Right, so barcode scanning, which ones you want to do over there. Transaction screen settings. This we are not using so much anymore. This is more of a legacy item that we have over here. The skin I'm using on my POS does actually go and use this, which is typically for these buttons here, but it's falling out of favor. Most of you guys are going using the other POS skins. That's perfectly fine. In fact, that's the way we like it. So you can go set that here. Management overrides. So where do you do your management overrides? Are they credit protection, credit limit, override, allow with management override, or just don't allow? So you over your credit limit. Tough luck, buddy. Cost protection, obviously being, yeah, you're about to sell this thing below cost. Are you sure you want to get shouted at by finance? Reprint sales transactions, deleting items, voiding items, information, fulfillment. Basically, most of the things you can do at the front end of the POS, do you need management? Do you need somebody looking over your shoulder going, okay, or not? These management overrides over here, we do use biometrics. So the biometrics themselves will actually also count towards the management override features here. Next up is poll message, poll display message details. Okay, so these are poll display messages. Guys, who here knows what a poll display is? I'm expecting hands or answers. Okay, hands. Okay, right then we got, okay, yeah, the hands are all up. Okay, all right, thank you very much, guys. Okay, I'm going to put them down. Thank you very much. Okay, so you guys know what a poll display is? Cool. Discount details, what are your discounts that you can do? You see, guys, over here is it's a mix of a lot of things that basically go and reflect across to things like your cashiers, what you want your cashiers to do, what you want your managers to do, what you want your different salespeople to do, and you can basically, or for instance, what you want the people in charge of refunds to do. A lot of this goes and sets up and is related to that. Your reason code details, do you require a reason code to do a price override or to refund an item or to refund a sale? Do you require comments? At the same time, are you enforcing that somebody needs to enter in a comment on there to go and do a to go and open the cash drawer? Open the cash drawer. Why do you want to do that? Your POS wildcards, if there's certain wildcards you want to use. I'll show you some of those tomorrow, I think. Email receipts, if you're emailing your receipts, how exactly do you want to send them out? Do you want to send them from enterprise? Do you want to send them from the store? Which email address are they sending from? All the rest that you can set here. Customer display settings, so if you want to change how the customer display looks, you can set that here. Product display settings, as well as if you are using a signature pad, you can go and set, you can then go use it to go and capture your signatures over here. Please remember, part of the hardware and software I did show you yesterday is the integration to signature and signature capture pads using the OPOS drivers. That is all available over here. Right, moving swiftly on, right there, and almost catching up to where we were, where we're meant to be. I'm just going to go across and we're going to have a brief view of employees, users, and security roles, and then we're also just having a quick look at the store setups and the hardware setups, and then I'm going to call it a day, which will take us up to 12, which would be just in time. So starting off with the employee and user setups, and this is quite important. So Okay, first off, employees. Over here in human resources. Now I've only got one at the moment, so let's see what it's all set up here. This is the default one that will automatically come set up in the system. He's given a code that's user defined. That's you just type in yourself, and obviously first name, middle name, last name. I'm not expecting him to be so, I'm expecting something over there. Please note we do not integrate across to the to things like your payroll systems. Primarily because payroll systems are generally separate to ERP systems, which is another whole story altogether. So we rather don't go and integrate across to those because obviously, you know, all of a sudden you're using SAP with VIP or Navision with something else, and then it's just a whole dog show. We don't want to do that. Instead, what we want to do is just over here, we put new employees. It's some fairly basic management information, addresses, emails, phones. Then we get down to the important stuff. First off, starting with teams. And I have my first question. Ooh, what does this say? And it says, explain the job code. Also, are we able to create new job codes? Yes, iVend, you can explain, you can create new job codes, and I will show you where you do that in a second. The job codes over here are a grouping function. So I've got two over here, cashier and manager. They're merely for grouping. It's not a case of they actually assign them to do anything. So you could have cashier, manager, sales employee, inventory, stock boy, reserve orange peeler, yeah, whatever the case might be. You can go set that over here. The team over here is something that's quite important, and that's linked through to team banking. Now, the entire idea with the team is that you will have a batch of people going and operating off one point of sale. You typically see this in electronic stores where you've got your salespeople wandering around the store. They go and they wander up, hi, can I help you buy a, insert whatever you want to buy, printer cartridge, games console, USB cable, whatever the case might be. They will then do the sale. They then go, once they've sold it to you, they then go along to the point of sale, log in, do the sale itself, and then the point of sale goes and logs them out again, and you wander out a couple of bucks later, or a couple of $1,000 later, as the case may be, and they go and wander off to find their next victim / customer. With that over there, that means that you've got multiple people using one till, and that's what we call a team. They go and they get assigned to a team. They work within the team. They then go and do all their sales, and then at the end of the day, there's a general cash up of the till to go make sure that everyone's got the money there. Next one up, user-specific store. So you can assign them to a specific store. If it's blank, they can go to any specific store. Otherwise, normally I would recommend assigning them to a store. It's just better. Position, yeah, that's once again, that's like the employee that's the employee positions over here. If I open it up, you will see that an employee position, it's detailed. Ooh, code description. Yeah, not much more for that. Retail profile. Surprise! Did I say it would appear in other places? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I do remember that. I said it. I was there. Right. Retail profile. It does appear over here. You can assign it on an employee level. So one employee's retail profile can follow them around the place. Right there. Slightly creepy for them, but that's the way it works. So welcome to the 21st century. Transaction entry. Gentlemen, this is one of the most important checkboxes I have to tell you that you need to check. If this is not checked, this person will not be able to log into iVend. You might give them every other right and facility and function and whatever else you want in here, but if this is not checked, iVend will go say, welcome, you logged in successfully, and then it immediately logs you out again, and you cannot explain why. That wasn't ticked. Tick that. Active. Are they active or not? Because obviously people come and go. All right, team banking, this needs to be ticked in conjunction with your team. So I've only got one user here, which is why it's not complaining, but those should be ticked together. Users time clock, we have some fairly simple time clocking functionality in iVend, guys. It's not like major stuff about how it goes. It's just fairly simple time clock. That's something that you can use and you can set up, and you can get going in there. You can get going there, so you can monitor them going on break, coming off break, and you can pull some fairly simple reports on that. Manager, are they a manager or not? This is basically going into, if you tick them as a manager, they then become a manager, they can log in, they can go, well, they can authorize the sales that we set in the retail profile. All right, are they a salesperson or not? Yeah, that's a fairly straightforward question, yes or no. If you tick this, then they appear in the salesperson's list. If you don't tick this, they're not in the salesperson's list. Somebody can be a cashier and a salesperson. That's not a problem. They can also just be a salesperson. They can also just be a cashier. Preferred language. And I got a question. A very good question. Thanks, Bernadine. Okay. And all right, the question being, all right, there. Just want to find out about the retail profile for the user. Is it mandatory? The answer is no. All right, and there's a very simple reason for this, is that there are multiple places you can set the retail profile. If the retail profile is not set in any of those places, then the one place it is mandatory to set it is in the enterprise. So over here in system initialization, we did actually set the retail profile over here. So if it's not set anywhere else, it will still pull the default retail profile from here. If it's, but over here, you can then go drill down all the way to going and setting it over here for the employee. So the retail profile can be left open like I have over here. Preferred language. Like I said, we've got all of these different ones over here, including 2 different types of Afrikaans, Namibian and South African, that you would need to load up. Please remember, like I said earlier, and when we had a look at these, right? Not all the languages are loaded. Though we do have, who knew that there was a language called Alsatian? I thought there was just the dog. And apparently you've got like 3 different versions of it too. Yay! Let's hear it for worldwide languages. Bakshir, yay! Bodo, Catalonian, Chinese. Anyway, we have all of these in here, including like 10 million types of English, and 10 million types of French and German, and all the rest of it. And we've got, if I have a look over here, we've also got different types of Swahili everywhere from Congo, Kenya, through to Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, and Kikuyu as well. So if you guys translate it, you can probably import it in, unless you made it up. The only language I haven't seen in here so far is Klingon, and quite frankly, I don't expect to. Right. Nowhere out, after all, everyone knows that's not spoken anywhere outside of Hollywood. So, allow end of day from the POS. This checkbox over here is if you're using a very small site, 1 store, 1 POS, then they can actually do a end of day, complete end of day from the point of sale itself. They don't need to go and do an end of day from the, they need to go set up the end of day, they don't need to do the end of day through the management console. They can just do it straight through the POS. This checkbox only works if there is 1 user, 1 POS for that store. That's it. All right, doesn't work if you've got, if more than 2, if 2 users, no. Well, 2 POS, no. All right, 1 user, 1 POS. Allow POS unlock if they want to unlock it, and allow transaction approval. Do they need to do transaction approvals over here or not? Earlier, I got the question about job codes, and we're going to quickly scream through there. So for instance, first off, I'm just going to go say teams. Once again, you can see the team. The criteria for filling out is arduous and long and will take you many, many hours to determine. But once you finish that, you can just type in the code and put in a description. After that, the job code, and the job code over here you'll see once again is very arduous and descriptive. It's code, description, and whether it's active or not. Yeah. And you can add as many of them as you want. From there, I'm going to quickly scream through authorization, right, which includes things like password policy. And I'm not going to go to security role first. I'm first going to go to security user. The entire idea behind a security user is that these are the actual people who log into the system. Now, the entire idea with this is that employees come and go. Right. Today Jan is here. Tomorrow Susan's taken his place because Jan has decided he's found the love of his life and is wandering off around there down Long Street or something like that. This over here means that you can, this means that you just need to go and replace the user So this is the employee that we had earlier. You can go and replace them with the new person who's come in. They then assume all the rights, roles, models, and all the rest of it that are associated with this user, and you then just plug them and they continue on merrily on their way. It means that you don't need to go reset up all the authorizations, all of the notices, all of the menus, all of the rest of it. That doesn't need to happen. This over here just happens over here. This means you just need to replace it in one spot. Electronic ID, if you are using a magnetic swipe card, you can go put this in. That will be swiped. You can go pick that up. Must use magnetic card or not to log in. Are they active? Can they change their password or not? Is it locked? You go and you try and log in wrong enough times and it will log you out and lock it. Yeah, just be careful you don't do that with the primary user over here. Otherwise, it's a bit of a pain to try and fix it in the background. Next one up we have is one that I do find a lot of confusion on, and that is the user type. Now, the user type over here, we've got a production user and a training user. Guys, this is not, it doesn't say test user over there. It says training user quite specifically. What would happen is using this, you can then set up a training database at the store, which would only exist at the store. It won't exist at the enterprise. It won't integrate through to the ERP. It's purely for the store to go and train at. It does mean that, what the idea behind this is that your store is set up, they're running, somebody leaves, somebody comes in, they get, when they're set up, you go and you switch over their user from being a production user to a training user. They then log in, do their training for an hour. They can do a couple of transactions. They can go and look up and change things and all the rest of it. And once that's done, you go and you switch it back over to a production user. They can then go and carry on in the production database without them actually knowing. They'll need to log off and log out again, but that's pretty much it. Once it's done, it's done. Is enterprise user, this is quite important if they are not an enterprise, this is quite an important one particularly for here. If they're not an enterprise user, they can't log into the enterprise. So you need that ticked in order to be able to log into the big central kahuna over here. Otherwise, you will be stuck just logging into the stores. That simple. And are they assigned to a specific store or not, speaking as if it was above for that one too. Is a management console user. This, if you check this, this will actually take, this is to go say whether they are a management console user or not. Over here you can actually say whether they have a license. If they are not checked as a management console user, they can't log into the management console. Can they do dashboard web viewing or not, which is also with the dashboard web viewer. We talked about that yesterday. API authentication, and then cloud users and SAM name. That was basically for the cloud user setups if you're going to go there. We also have enroll fingerprint. Now, of course, the idea is that if you do go change the user over here, you will re-enroll their fingerprint so that they are up to date. Please remember, there is one fingerprint thing that we use, and it's the one that pretty much everywhere uses that I know of worldwide, and that is the URU 4500 digital persona fingerprint scanner. Right, there are some others out there. We don't use them unless you go and you pay us money to go and integrate to them. That's the way it is. All right, that's the security user. But there is one thing over here that I haven't covered, and that's the security role, and that's what we're going to look at next. So, security role. Now, the security role, we're going to have a quick look across here at the administration role that is set up over here. And before I even dive in, the idea is that you would have multiple roles over here. So you'd have an administrative role, you'd have a cashier role, you'd have a store manager role, a filing clerk role, or whatever the case is. You would have different roles over here. Each of them define exactly what that role can do. So over here, code, description, can you assign this role at the store or not? So the administrator role, you probably don't want to have this ticked. Cashier role, you can assign it at the store to give it to a cashier. Administrator role, no, bad idea. Display profile, we will come to in one of the later sessions, right? And then from here, you can also go and assign security rights. Now, okay, I see it's not allowing me to do that. I'm going to go new, and I'm going to go assign security rights. When you go and assign security rights, there are some very important things over here that you need to know about. First off, It's pretty straightforward. You go and you select you've got all these things grouped together. You can then, if you select, for instance, full, it will change all the ones below to full. You can also change those ones to read or to add update or to just add an update. The big difference between add an update and full is full will give you complete access, which includes the delete function, whereas add or update will just give you add or update functions. So that's something to consider. All right, things in system initialization that you just need to be aware of that I have run into before, because we needed to go run through it and just check it, is things like login MC and login POS. If you don't give people these rights, they can't log into the MC or they can't log into the POS. You get the same net effect that happened with the other checkbox that I showed you, is that if it's not ticked for transactions, you will not be able to log in and you will be stuck out there wondering why everything like that is happening, and then people normally call me for that. But this over here is quite important. Normally most people need at least access to one of them. But you can go set all of these things over here, including all of down at the actual POS, what they can do and can't do, line level discount, line level surcharge, update cash customer, transaction mode changes, payments, all the rest of it. That is all available over here as default. You can go select it, change it, update it, authorize it, and set it at one point. It filters down to all the stores. And the nice thing is that you just very rarely need to change this. Once it's set up, it's set up. Right. You might need to come and change it if laws change, requirements change, but if there's new roles, then yes. Otherwise, once the security right is done, you're done. Okay. All right. And then just the final couple of ones I want to go through over here, which is the hardware setup and which is the hardware setup and the POS setup. We'll just quickly go cover those, and then we will go and then I'll call it a day, because I know I have run over a little bit. I'm expecting you guys are going to pick up a lot of this last bit from the recording. Well, okay, I suppose there is one thing I can show you, which is the password policy. Guys, the password policy is you can change the days and you can change the different invalid attempts, but the password length, the password history, you can't change. As standard, iVend requires that you go and you log in with that when you log in for your password, it requires a capital letter, special character, and numbers. It needs to be at least 7 characters in length, and that's it. So that's why we normally go with pass at 123. You'll see that when you install your demo systems. Have fun. Next up is over here in retail configuration. We're going to go to hardware profiles and hardware registration, and then also across to the point of sale. Now, first up, hardware registration. Please remember, once again, we do get we do support OPOS. If it's OPOS, it's easy. It's a dead standard language. And I have a question. Sorry, Keith, just wanted to ask you about the retail. I'm assuming that is a mandatory. Wait. Okay, all right, yeah, thanks, Imran. Okay, yeah, I know we've gone a bit long. Okay, but just to quickly go finish off on this and the POS setup, we'll just cover it and that'll be it. Here is the hardware registration. You can select which hardware type you're linking through. Is it a document printer, is it cash drawer, poll display, mag stripe reader, scale. MICR is magnetic interference card reader. So that's your mag stripe reader, signature capture barcode, fiscal printer. And guys, yes, if you select the fiscal printer over here, you get your different fiscal printer types. So I need to go select where's fiscal printer. And you get your different fiscal printer types that are selected over there. All right, please remember there are other ones that we have integrated too that are not part of this list. So you can get those depending on your country and where you're operating in. But the nice thing about the stuff over here is that once you select a hardware type, so for instance, I'm going to select poll display. I can also go and select over here my, if I have a look, I've got poll display.opos and I've got poll display.simulated. If I select that, it will go give me simulated poll display. So I can use that as a base. Can we define QR code? No, this is where you define the QR code reader, if anything. So that's poll display. That would be your, where is your scanner? Yeah, that would be your scanner that you're going to, oh wait, we linked the scanner in the next one. You'll be able to link your scanner through to here. So that automatically links through. Once you've selected things like poll display.simulated, there is, well, in this case, there's no config for that one because it's simulated. If I go poll display.opos, I go to config, I can go set up my device name, which if you know about LDNs from OPOS is where you set up this bit. That's very important. Once you've set up that, you can then connect it through to your hardware profile. Now, the entire idea with hardware profile is that you will have a hardware profile. Well, you will have different hardware profiles. The entire idea about these ones is that you can actually set them for each machine if you want, or otherwise you can have one and then have it across multiple machines. Here you can set things like the receipt printer, physical printer, document printer, scales, signature captures, barcode readers. That's the one that I was looking for. So it's not a barcode scanner, barcode reader, customer-facing display, and electronic invoice devices. So any of those you can go set over here. Once you've got, and you use much the same settings for that I showed you earlier with the hardware registration. Once you've done that, you can then go across to your point of sale setup, where you will define different points of sale. Now, each point of, this is the hardware setup for the point of sale. This is what's associated with it. This is where you can go say what sort of POS type it is. Is it PC based or is it based on the mobile POS? That's the setting you do there. Which store it's assigned to, what's the site ID assigned to it as well. Is it enabled for offline, which I think we discussed being offline yesterday. What retail profile is associated with it. You see the retail profile strikes again. What hardware profile is associated with it, as well as, and that's where you're going to load up the hardware profile I just showed you, as well as the hardware ID. The hardware ID comes from the actual device itself. This is what actually assigns the license. Once it's got a hardware ID, it will go and take a POS license for itself. What is the default print profile associated? Which department it's with? Is it enabled? Is the payment process, what payment processor unique identifier? If there is one, typically payment processors such as innovation require one, so you will need to set that there. And do you want to show the customer display, and what customer display do you want? That is for another day though. All right, I know we've gone and run a hard one this time around, guys. It's been quite long. We're half an hour over. So sorry for going and doing this. But yeah, to just go and try and catch up on some of the bits and pieces that we've missed out. We are getting there slowly. All right, okay. Unless there are any other questions or anything like that, I'm going to go sign off and get this thing loaded up as quick as possible. We will then go and meet again tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel, same bad place, same bad webinar. And yeah, then we will go and see what the story is. And I see we've actually picked up attendees as we've gone along, which is a bit unique in webinar history. Yeah, but if you do have any other questions, please email me, let me know. I'll be around. I'm sure you must have my email address. If not, then ask me tomorrow for it, and I will put it on screen, and I'll get bombarded by spam emails for the rest of my life, but it's okay because I will be able to help you guys. Thank you so much. Chat to you soon. Keep well. Okay, hang on. Oh, I do have some questions. Right, how do I make a POS offline enabled so not able to create a separate document number series? iVend, we'll tackle that later. Are business traits change daily in the MC? No, in Kiru, the business traits are changed through the day end function. And in the MC, it will automatically pick up its different dates. Thanks, guys. Chat soon. Bye.